Ready? All right, I'd like to call the Caryville Mayor and Board of Aldermen regular meeting for February to order. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Patrick Beatley?
Here.
Mr. Eric Jones?
Here.
Mr. Eric Smith?
Here.
Ms. Beth Lawson? Here. Mr. John Gibson?
Here.
Mr. Lloyd Lawson?
Here.
Mary Stixbury?
Yes, here, we're here. And Mr. Smith, can you say opening prayer for us, please, sir?
Our blessed Lord, once again, bow our heads before you. Thanks, praise for blessings be poured on us. As praise go with us here, see the blessings, be a light in the world in thy name. Give us the wisdom that be needed to do thy work. For Spirit, Lord, we should ask and pray. And amen.
Thank you, sir. All right, everybody, a few minutes to look over the January minutes. Everybody has time to look at the minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I make the motion to approve.
Favor second.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Citizens input. Anybody need to address the board? Anybody need to address the board in the audience? Okay. All right, communications from the mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for thoughts and prayers in the passing of my father-in-law. The throw that you all sent was beautiful. My wife really thought that was. Beth, thank you so much for filling in. Very capable while I was gone. Also, again, this is large due to Beth and Kathy, our city attorney. Got a email from the people on the school safety grant about the crosswalks there. They're supposed to start that sometime this spring. They said when the weather breaks. So I know both you two worked on that very hard, and thank you both for all your hard work on that. I mean, both of you took a kind of a bad situation and turned it around where it was usable, made it usable for everybody over there. So I really appreciate both of you doing it.
It will be greatly used.
I'm sure it will. All right, financial report.
In January, in the general fund, we have $560,049.71. Reserve for rainy day fund, $45,000. And our special fire protection fees, we have received $123,050.28. Now we spent $55,781.13, which our balance is $67,269.15. So our adjusted general fund balance is $447,780.56. In our State Street Aid Fund, we have $55,404.07, and our industrial fund is $868.89. And in our drug fund, we have $14,548.28. So for the month of January 2018, our revenue is $108,148.26. Our expenditures for the month of January were $114,686.64. Losing the difference of $6,538.38.
Okay. And we should be about roughly 57-58% of the budget, and that's where we're at. We're right on course for the budget. Now you see, we were in the hole in the negative $6,000, but we paid the bid for the new rescue truck was a little over $8,000. So that came out of the fire protection, but it had to show going out. So really, you take that out of it, we were $1,500 to the good. But in January and February, that's still a good number. That's still a good number. So I hear a motion, we approve the financial report.
Motion made. Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Reports of council members, Mr. Lawson.
Street and Sanitation Department report, picked up 58 tons of garbage, 4 tons of recycling, 1 ton of brush, salted the roads on snow days, cut trees, and started digging the blind spot off over on Bruce Gap Road. And got one guy out, Tim, he's out. He's got a broken ankle. And picked up brush, repaired potholes in the city. And they worked on Saturday and Sunday on the flooding and keeping the ditches and the culverts open. So they've done a great job there. And that's all I have.
Yes, we did. We got a lot of rain in 2 days. All right. Dwayne, please report.
Town of Caryville Police Department report for the month of January. We patrolled 9,357 miles. We had 220 call-in complaints. We had 19 arrests. Out of everything, we had 29 citations, and we had 5 drug arrests out of the everything that was patrolled, 3 DUIs, and we had 14 accidents. And that's it for the police department report.
Okay, Ms. Beth, library.
All right, we had 930 items checked out, 1,010 items checked in, 388 ebook users. They added 13 new Patreons. They added 55 items and deleted 109, 316 computer users. They loaned 2 books and borrowed 10. They held 3 children's programs with 23 people in attendance, and the total library attendance was 335.
Had this month too.
Yes.
Mr. Smith, fire department.
The fire department had 1 false call last month, responded to 3 house fires, 2 brush fires, 3 vehicle accidents, 1 accident with an extrication of a patient, assisted the ambulance service twice, and mutual aid was given to other departments twice for a total of 14 calls for last month.
Okay. Do I hear a motion we approve all reports from the departments?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any old business?
Pads will be here Thursday most likely. We went with the Lenovo Think pads because they run on a Windows system. It will make it easier for us to put everything we share with each other in one folder, whereas Mac operating system is notoriously bad at handling that. These will also have a detachable keyboard that just comes standard with them for folks that don't do touch screens well. So I think it'll work out well for all of us. And we came in a little bit under budget on it, so.
That's even better. What's the latest on our website with no?
They've changed the way they do things at the radio station with streaming. And basically, for instance, until basketball season, which basketball season's over in 2 weeks, 3 at the most, Freeman's just had him every day. But what we did find out, we'll also save the city money. Since we have a server, we don't have to pay anybody to host the website. And it'll save us $15 a month basically forever if we host it on their server.
And I learned that our lovely ladies at the library know how to do web design too.
Really?
Ish.
So we may need to, maybe you need to talk.
I'll be by next week.
Okay, good deal.
But I was really interested at the radio station, and of course they pay him decent well for it. He is their tech guru.
He's a very busy man.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good. We need to get that started.
Well-
One way or the other.
We'll be by next week.
Sounds good.
One way or the other, we need to get that going. All right. New business. Jimmy Jeffries to discuss ATV municipal coordination. Mr. Jeffries, you have the floor.
Mayor, just take about 5 minutes of your all's time, just to keep you all updated on what's going on and where we're at, and hopefully where we're headed in this upcoming year. Last year, our ATV festival was the most successful that we've ever had. And, you know, while that was in part to you all and your all's generosity and everything, we certainly appreciate that. Again, all of our motels were full, and it just made for a really good time. The estimates were somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 people attended. So we're going to go forward this year again with another festival. But some things that have happened in the interim that I wanted to keep you all up to date on was that we have been working with the state of Kentucky because it's a good thing economically for everybody. I've checked with our merchants, and they're seeing, since the law went into effect in July last year, they have saw a substantial economic boost. The merchants where the roads are open and they can come into town and get to our local stores and stuff. And they're telling me that it's been a substantial economic boost for them over the period that it's been open. Andy went to Japan a couple years ago, I think. And anyways, to make a long story short, had an invite to Nashville from his trip to Japan, and was able to speak with the governor of Kentucky. So from this point, we've started working with the state of Kentucky to open up the two states together. We have a meeting later this month with Bell County with the tourism director and the director or the judge executive up there, and have been working with them on the state level. Hopefully at some point in time we'll be able to bring those folks into town at the state level. I'm not for sure what their actual titles are, but it's the same thing as like our Commissioner of Economic Development. Is that correct?
Correct. They have a council of the.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they classify them in Kentucky, but it was under Governor Haslam, it was the same job that like Randy Boyd did. So those folks have gotten involved, and they're looking at pushing some legislation through in the state of Kentucky to kind of mirror the legislation that we have here in Tennessee. So hopefully that will help all of us in the fact that the end game is what we're hoping for. If we get this 50,000 acres opened on the other side of the line, is for them to continue to open roads in Kentucky so you can actually get all the way through to West Virginia. That's what we're going to try to push to make happen. And then if we do that, I mean, you get on it would bring in people to stay here who would stay here, and and then they could go for trips, and or come from West Virginia to here to stay, and pull their ATVs in and go to your motels and stay and everything. So just wanted to keep y'all up on that. The thing with the state of Kentucky has been, it's really pretty exciting that looks like that has a really good chance of happening. Even if the 50,000 acres is all that we're, additional 50,000 acres on the other side of the lines, all that we'll be able to get open, you'll be able to get all the way into Harlan, I believe. That's what they're telling us in Bell and Knox County.
Does that lead up to the Hatfield McCoy, or is it not that far yet?
It's not that far yet. It's not that far yet. A company called Mopus Hardwoods has that property. They also have the property in Tackett Creek, so they're wanting to work with them on some leases, and hopefully if we can get that done this year, then in the next couple of years we'll be able to push forward and talk with them about continuing to open it, and hopefully it'll be really good for Campbell County as a whole, the city of Caryville, city of La Follette, and the county as a whole, if we can manage to get all of that done. But the process has started, and I just wanted to come and let you all know the process has started. We're having our first meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock for the festival for next year. It'll be October 13th this year, and y'all are welcome at whatever you want to do, at any come up, set you up a booth, do whatever you want to do, and promote the city of Caryville. We'd love to have you.
Okay. I think this year we probably will try to do that. And I know that you was talking about the economic impact on the fall. I know several Saturdays I've driven up to 141 and looked up there. I mean, there's ATVs just everywhere. I know Comfort Inn's been booked solid about all winter, which is unusual, but since the ATV thing, they're booked solid better. I know we have several over here at the other motels over here, so it's only been a good thing. And like I said, the expansion just brings more in.
Brings more for all of us.
Yes, it does. It's good for
We can
everybody.
all be successful together.
That's right.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
One short thing, the marinas are getting on board as well. They promoted it in Cincinnati. And the marinas are also going to be supporting the ATV Festival at the Indianapolis Boat Show, starting this Thursday, running for the next 2 weekends.
Wow.
And if we could talk Dwayne into taking some of his shows, we'd be thrilled.
I may be able to do that.
Exposure is good.
Yeah.
Exposure's good.
Is there a, speaking of exposure, is there a map or a guide, or what are they taking with them when they go to the shows? I mean, I know the county has, like, from being at the chamber and stuff, I know the county has, like, just county stuff. But what's out there printed material wise or whatever that's out there that says, here we have 200,000 acres or whatever that you.
The printed material will be taken will be, one will be the flyer for the upcoming festival, and two will be the actual trail maps, not the city maps, but the trail maps. The area itself is the big draw to get them to come here and ride. And then the city, each, Caryville, La Follette, Jellicoe, Rocky Top, there's not an encompassing map at this time that shows that entire area, just because it'd probably take a map the size of that whiteboard to show from Rocky Top to Jellicoe all the open streets. But that's something we're talking about, something we're working on. But that overall map is not there yet, other than a street listing.
So if we, per se, had a flyers or something that had Caryville and what all we have here to offer and stuff, they would be able to take that.
Correct. Marinas are really open to the ideal, because what they're looking for the same thing. They have a lot of lodging, and we're going to work with them to open up some roads from the marinas to the mountains. Because Jimmy will tell you that the economic impact of a 3-day stay is $1,700 is what they spend during those 3 days. The marinas are interested in getting those people down here on the lake to stay at their place, but also pulling their ATVs to stay even longer at those locations to access the mountains. So,
Plus, that would open them up during the fall and winter too.
correct.
I know I have rental houses that I deal with, and they are now starting to rent more in the fall with their ATVs and stuff. And they wanted, I've had a couple ask me where can we, pull our trucks to, because they're at the lake. We
Correct.
can't drive from the lake, so where can we, leave our trucks at and things to ride. So, I mean, it is becoming more where they're renting out there and staying, wanting to ride and stuff.
We've had several people ask us about opening the roads up from some of the marinas or some of the developments where there are lake house rentals. They've asked about opening those roads up, and that'll be something that we'll be looking at in this upcoming.
Well, yeah, because if you don't, then you're gonna end up with them out there at the lake,
Correct.
and you don't want that. Not riding the lake banks and stuff. So,
The first step is getting that, is trying to figure out the path, for the city of Caryville. The county's standpoint from Twin Cove, we would be, if the city designs that route to get them to the mountains, the county will open up the roads on our side to make it legal to get to your roads.
right. So we really need to look at putting together a
It would
flyer
be, yeah, right.
of some kind for the city.
Yeah, we did that. We opened up Claiborne Road all the way to the city limits, and then the county opened up the rest of the roads out to Longshun Park. So
when is it that we have to put our, I know last year it was like we had a certain date that they had to take it to Nashville or whatever. When is that date if we wanted to open new roads?
if you open secondary roads, if you open your city roads, you all can do that by ordinance. So it doesn't take a trip.
We don't have to go to Dennis for this one. We can just say, this is everyone, it's
Just
first
add
reading,
to it.
second reading.
If you want to, if you want to open your secondary roads, the only time you have to approach the legislature again is if you want to open state routes. But if you want to open any other state routes, then you have to approach the legislature. And if not, if you just open your city roads to get them, you can get them wherever you want to on your city roads by ordinance.
Great, that's great.
All right.
So we don't have a deadline on it. We can just do the ordinance.
No, there is no deadline written into the law.
Thank you. That's what I thought. I just wanted to
Yeah.
be clear.
All right. Thank y'all.
Maybe something to work on next week.
Something else. All right, next is Denise Davis, Ingram, Overholt, and Bean will present council for our 2017 audit. Ms. Denise.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having us. I want to thank Mayor Stewart and the council for having us to do your audit. I am Denise Davis with Ingram, Overholt, and Bean, and you have a copy of the audit here bound. So I'm just going to hit some highlights. And then as you go through it, if you have questions, feel free to call the office, or if you just need something to put you to sleep, you're welcome to use it for that too. First of all is, it's about 6 or 7 pages in. It's called the Independent Auditor's Report. And I just want to draw attention to this because this is the highest opinion that you can get for an audit. Your audit was what we call a clean audit with an unqualified opinion, and that is the best that you can get for an audit. So congratulations to you guys on that. Also want to say that Teresa does a great job, and with Laura helping, you guys probably know that, but I just wanted to tell her in front of the council that she does do a very good job. It makes my job easy. Okay, we're going to go on over to page 13. This is your statement of net position, otherwise known as like your balance sheet. You see for the year ending June 30th, 2017, you had total assets of $2,285,123. And then down at the bottom, you have total liabilities of $618,851. And then your total net position is $1,724,988. So you guys are in a very good financial position, as you know. And then if you'll just turn to the next page, page 14. This is shown in a little different way. You have your expenses in the first column, and then all your revenue is in the next 3 columns, and in the far right column at the bottom. The number to draw your attention to is the change in net position. It's a negative 210,291. A lot of that number, though, is going to be your depreciation of your assets, which, as you know, is a non-cash item. It's just something that we just have to show, so that's why that number is large, because you guys have to carry a lot of fixed assets. All right, if you'll go on to page 15, this shows all your funds separated and then totaled up. You've got your general fund, CDBG, State Street Aid, and then the non-major, which includes your drug fund. And that's in total assets and total fund balances. Then page 17, this is where we start showing your budget. Well, this is your revenue part, excuse me. You've got your revenues, and they're all broken up by funds. Your total revenues, and then your total expenses. Then over on page 19 is where you start showing your budget with your actual for your general fund. And if you look on page 20, shows total revenues of your actual of $1,344,000, and you budgeted $1,196,000, so you were $147,000 to the good for your revenues. And then on over on page 25, your total expenditures were $1,420,000, and you budgeted $1,565,000, so you were $145,000 under your budget for the year, which is excellent. Which gave you a total of $292,000 to the good on your overall budget. So you guys are doing a really good job keeping up with your budget. The rest of this is a lot of in the notes, and it just goes over what is in number form, just extreme detail, so I won't bore you with all those details. The only thing to draw your attention to is on page 62, the very last page. And this finding we had last year, and it's just a continuation of you guys working together to get your internal control policy, which you guys are working on. So as long as we can get that in place and approved by June 30th of this year, then that'll go away. So that is, and that's all. So congratulations on a very good year and a good audit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Anybody have any questions for?
Anything you've seen that would be beneficial to us change the way we're doing policy-wise that would
No.
in other places?
No, not really. You guys seem to, I mean, you just got a well-oiled machine here, just keeping up with things, and the mayor does a great job. And you all just work together very well, and I think that's just important. We see a lot of councils not quite do that, so that's one thing I see well, and you're up to date, like your financials are up to date with the month that you're working on. Sometimes that seems to be a problem, and you're really close that you stick with your budget, and you make sure that you're staying on task and staying under budget, even just trying to come in under budget, even like with the computers. I think that's something to really commend you for, so, yeah.
Sounds good. We'll take it. All right. Thank you, Denise. Thank you.
Can I get a vote to approve it?
I believe we can.
That'd be great.
I'll make the motion, we approve the audit as presented by Denise.
Second.
Take your pick. Call roll, please.
Mr. Patrick Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Beth Lawson? Yes. Mr. Dwayne Gibson?
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd Lawson?
Yes.
Mayor Stixberry?
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. See you next year.
Thank you.
Which won't be that
Yes.
long.
Oh, I know, that's what I was thinking.
It was time to start
We'll be here
again.
before we turn around.
As long as it brings sunshine.
Both literally and figuratively.
All right, number 3, council to discuss parks and recreation grants. Chris?
Yes, I'm Chris Olgitz with Community Development Partners, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a park grant. I put together a packet for you all. If you don't mind grabbing that, it's got a conceptual master plan on the front of it. Okay, you're passing them around. As you all know, you're undertaking a 10-year Parks and Rec planning process, and you're on the tail end of that now. And what that document will ultimately produce is a set of recommendations for the town to pursue to achieve their goals over the next 10 years. And then on the front, you can see this is Asbury Park and the conceptual master plan that will be presented at the Campbell County Commission meeting, the next meeting. And this is what was determined that caryville wanted throughout this planning process. The LPRF grant is a 50-50 grant, meaning you would get a grant from TDEC RES, Recreational Education Services, in order to achieve your planning goals. If you don't mind flipping over to that budget on that page, this project that you have that will be presented is broken down into 3 separate phases. What we would recommend, and what will be recommended in that plan, that 10-year plan, is that you pursue phase 1 with an LPRF grant, which will be due this year on April 18th. The total project cost for a paved ADA sidewalk of the existing fields and a new concession stand with restroom building, when you add the general conditions, soft costs, and contingencies, is a total of $143,550. What we would want you all to do if you decided to pursue this grant is just go ahead and round that up to $150,000, which would be $75,000 grant, $75,000 match, okay? Now, this phase 2 and phase 3 would be for later on. You have 10 years. One thing that Rick Russell, who is also consultant with PPR, wanted me to ask you all for phase 2. If you decide to pursue this LPRF grant within the next 5 years, they need a budget over the next 5 years. Would you want to pursue phase 2 within that next 5 years? And if so, would you want to pursue another LPRF grant in order to achieve that? Now, we can think about that now. I'm not sure where everyone stands on the LPRF grant, but this is what the plan is going to recommend to Asbury Park. You've got these 3 phases, and we're going to ask or recommend that you pursue phase 1 of that. Okay? Now, let me grab my other sheet. The next page is the LPRF application meeting summary. The good news is there's a lot of stuff that's required for an LPRF application. However, going through the planning process, you all have taken care of a substantial portion of that. Under a typical application, they require 3 public meetings, a park board meeting, and 2 civic group meetings. Well, we've already eliminated 2 public meetings just by going through the planning process. So we would only need 1 public meeting in order to move forward with this application, and 2 civic group meetings, which I understand have already been identified. And My firm, Community Development Partners, would be responsible for providing everything that you would need for those public meetings, so you would just take it and run with it should you decide to pursue that application. And the same thing goes for the civic group meetings as well. On the final page that I gave you is the LPRF task distribution checklist. You can see who would be responsible for producing what items. CDP, which would be the administrator, after you go through procurement, assuming we're selected, what the city or town will be responsible for the architect and engineer. I don't think for phase one you would need an engineer. We could use a landscape architect for that since it's relatively simple. This is sort of just a checklist for you all to go by as you're going through the application, just to make sure that we have everything that we need, and of course we would walk you through that process. So again, it's a 50-50 grant. The Parks and Rec Master Plan will suggest this as a recommendation for the town to pursue, and I will answer any questions that you all may have.
Okay, what this phase one does is basically redo the concession and the restrooms, and it gets them ADA.
Which is a huge step to getting everything else done.
Exactly.
If you get ADA, then you can have a leg up on coming on other phase 2 and 3.
Well, it's a requirement.
It's a requirement.
ADA is their biggest buzzword.
And frankly, we owe it to the people that use that park to be ADA compliant.
Correct.
Say that again?
We owe it to the ones that use the Asbury Park, be handicap accessible.
Okay.
If we never went through the other 2 phases, we owe it to the people that use their facilities to be ADA compliant. I mean,
Well, the only thing that's not ADA compliant over there is the bathrooms and the concession stand.
Right.
The ball field, I mean, there's access to
the
the ball field.
playground and picnic
The
shelter are
playground and
good.
picnic shelter.
I went
is-
over and walked it with them the other day after the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
the
where
big
the
thing is that.
that's where the sidewalk, that's where the sidewalk part would come in, connecting all those together. But like I said, this is, Chris, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong. We talked earlier, it's like I said, 75,000. If you ask for 150, 75,000 to city. Way these things operate, we could, if we pursue this, we could budget part this year, part next year, because it takes that long to get everything in the system.
Absolutely. They'll make the announcement come fall, and it is typically the following spring or summer before they even issue contracts.
So we would have basically 2 budget cycles
That's correct.
before we would have to have any of our share,
That's correct.
basically. So it's not like a one shot, $75,000 shot to the budget.
My question is does these phase, I mean, the way that these are written out, and I know I was in part of the meetings and stuff like that on this, but, does it have to go in this particular order of the phases? Because if so, right now, you're putting a concession stand right in the middle of our existing ball field, which means if you done
Well-
that, we would never be able to play ball until you go through
There's actually 2 listed. There's actually 2 listed on here. That one that you're looking at would be a different phase. If you look at the right here where the existing field is now, you see new concessions or restroom area. That's where that would be.
Okay.
It's just our way of getting ADA compliance when you
Right.
go through
Yeah, I
the
know.
rest of it. We discussed, you were at work that day, we discussed that at the very last meeting, about switching that up, so.
Oh, because I knew we were talking about the one there in the middle of that one field
Right,
and stuff, and I thought, well, if we go to that first, then you've got a building right in the middle of the
Exactly.
ball
there'll be a bunch of
field.
awkward concession stands all the time.
I mean, we kind of need the fields before that,
Exactly.
but, so that's why I was wondering if it had to be in these phases.
These phases, as I understand it, and Brian Hill and Rick Russell, who were involved in the
Yeah, that's
process,
what
make the most sense and they're the most feasible.
But that's what phase 2 is, 5 years, phase 3 is 10 years?
Yeah.
So
And we need
that's
phase 3 next week.
so that's out there, but right now, phase 1, and we, back last fall, last summer, when we was talking about the, working on the grant to, get started on something like this is the fruit of the labor from that, because the county, we partnered with the county and La Follette and Jellicoe, and did all the civic meetings at the high schools and everything else, gave us a leg up to we already had our master plan in place. Where other places that's going to be maybe applying for this grant, we're ahead of the game.
Right, exactly, and in the future, we're hearing it will be a requirement that communities have to have one of these plans in place in order to even receive one of these grants.
But we're already ahead.
And you're the first year, this is the first year that any community was offered this grant to do a master plan. So you are ahead of the game.
So we're already out in front. So, anybody have any, feel free to question Chris. He likes to answer questions. Like I said, this is a 2 budget cycle, basically, money thing.
And yep, becoming ADA compliant also potentially insulates us from future lawsuits if somebody goes there and decides to raise a stink about it.
Do you all have an ADA transition plan in place?
Probably not.
Okay. Well, I know the state is starting to send those notices out to everyone that will be required, so that
We will
will,
certainly get on that.
so that will help with that when that arises, so.
This one will help with that all.
Because you will be ADA compliant, because this is your facility.
When's the deadline to apply?
The 18th of April.
So like everything else, you had to apply for it yesterday.
Right, exactly. The good news is on that checklist, and it's a very extensive grant application, but at least a lot of this stuff has already been taken care of. through the
We've
plan.
got 2 of the public meetings out of the way. I've got 2 of the civic meetings scheduled. We still have to have 1 public meeting, which I will present the same thing I'm going to present to the civic meetings right here.
And we need a recreation board.
Yeah.
That's
We
true.
need to have that.
That's true. She makes a good point. I did not hit on that. On the meeting summary, you see the Parks and Recreation Board meetings. You get extra points for that. If you do not have it, you lose points. Now, when I spoke with Evan Sanders today at my company, he said if you all would like to set up a committee, a Parks and Recreation committee, that should suffice in order for you to get those extra points. So we would need the minutes from that if you were to set that up, agree to set that up.
We need to do that just to give us a decent advantage.
Right.
Every little bit helps.
Yeah, we need the points, basically.
And it would.
I don't want to miss out on anything that can benefit
Yes,
us. So we
absolutely.
gotta do this.
You guys are within this month of February, by March.
We got 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Looked like everything else yesterday.
yesterday.
Anybody else have any questions for Chris? Thank you, sir.
All right.
All right, what's the feeling of the council? What's the pleasure of the council?
Do we have to vote on
We
doing the grant?
have a vote to apply.
Oh, vote to apply.
If we want to, it's up to the
I
council.
feel like-
It's up to the council if we want to vote.
I feel like we need to at least vote to apply to get us in that position. Because like I said, again, we owe it to the people that use the facility to become ADA compliant.
Correct. And we wouldn't know anything, even if we apply, it'd be what? They'd lay this file before you even hear anything.
Exactly.
Okay.
Second motion.
Okay, did you make the motion number 2 here?
I'll make that as a motion that we pursue the grant and
Eric, second. Okay, discussion? Anybody have any discussion?
And this is, once you apply, it'll be phase 1 only.
We would recommend to do phase 1. That's the best thing to do at this point, yes.
Because there's literally $50,000 difference phase 1,
Yeah,
phase 2.
yeah, phase 1 gets us ADA and gets us. on
phase
the right
1
foot.
opens us up to many other grants once we get the ADA compliance.
Okay.
Whereas if we're not ADA compliant, it basically disqualifies us from other grants.
Anybody else have any comments before we vote? Call roll, please.
Mr. Patrick Keebley?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Beth Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Dwayne Gibson?
Yes.
Mr. Roy Lawson?
Yes.
Mayor Stixler?
Yes, motion carries. Chris? Thank you, sir. And she'll be in touch, I'm sure, with you next day or so to get this going.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
And please put me together that PowerPoint for the meeting.
It's already been emailed out, so.
Great.
Okay, number 4, council to discuss letter to T-Dot traffic study on Harebaker Highway at Comfort Lane. Got a phone call last week or so from a representative of Pilot. They are in the process, they're going to demolish the old Pilot up there and make it a parking lot. Originally, they were proposing to build a crossover bridge across Highway 63. I think that became cost prohibitive, dealing with permits and DOT, TDAC and all, and everything else. What they are requesting is that this board send a letter to TDOT to request a traffic study for Highway 63, Baker Highway, and Comfort Lane, which goes up to Hardee's, which goes up to Comfort, and which goes into the pilot. This is just a request of a study. It doesn't obligate us to anything at all. It's just a request they do a traffic study. And in the meantime, Pilot had already commissioned their own study by an engineering firm. And from what I understood from this representative is that TDOT is willing to take it in under very serious consideration from that study, but they still need a letter from us requesting a study for
It's
that.
just a procedure.
Procedural thing, yes. So that's what, if I hear a motion that we will request a traffic study at Baker Highway at Comfort Lane.
I'll make a motion that we, yeah, do the study, the traffic study.
Okay. There's a second. Terry? Second. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Patrick Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Beth Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Dwayne Gibson?
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd Lawson?
Yes.
Mayor Stixberry?
Yes, motion carries. All right, number 5, council discuss amendments, ordinance on dwelling units, daycares, attached garages, carports, and zoning ordinance, and a zoning map of Caryville. All right.
That's the one we tabled last meeting.
Right. What you have in front of you is basically what this does. It cleans up our ordinances for several things. One of those being, let's go in order. On dwelling units, one thing that he did mention, y'all have this memorandum letter? Okay. Pretty much self-explanatory. The detached garages, it clears up some questions about garages and carports. The second one is the tiny home. You know, right now that's a going thing right now is everybody's building these tiny homes. And what this does is kind of sets a foundation for the tiny homes if the Plan Commission has to have any dealings with those. The daycares, we don't have any daycares right now, but what this does, this is just a standard daycare rules and regulations about daycares. About, where a lot of it is the, we shall adhere to the state regulations on daycares. And let's see, Beth, help me along here if I forget anything. But that's basically what these was the garages and carports, the tiny homes, and the daycares. And on the garages and carports, you can only have a accessory building in the R1 in the rear yard only. So what this does is you can change it for they can move a carport or a garage to call a side yard. It basically cleans up our ordinances. But Joe Barrett, our estate planner, worked on this, and with the Plan Commission had several meetings on this. And this is what the Plan Commission voted to recommend to the board to adopt.
Yeah, it's just, we have these zones in place right now anyways. This just cleaned up some of the wordage on, where things were and stuff like that. So we didn't change anything. We just cleaned them up on the Planning Commission. So, if anybody needs a copy of the zones, they're out, they're there. Everybody should have them. This just, I think made it more black and white than what, because there was a lot of stuff in there that didn't make sense.
So adding garages or carports, that's still, you still have to get a permit to do that?
Yes,
Okay, and it has to be inspected, not that stuff.
correct. And if, you know, if you have a detached garages, carport shall not be permitted on non-conforming lots. That means if you don't have enough space. In other words, if you can't, you have to have so much space to have your primary residence, and you have to have so much space for a garage.
Was they a distance that you have to be from the property line?
I think that's in the regular, I think that's in our regular ordinance, the setbacks. It says encroachment here on encroachment within the required yard setback is prohibited. So there are setbacks that we have now in place.
Okay.
I know a house has to be 15 foot off the property line and 30 foot off the road. And about the garages, I don't know off the top of my head, but there's also setbacks on those also. But they have to, you can't put something that's, I think, over a half the size of the residence as a garage unless you have a space to do it.
I know, I think that this ordinance has changed since I built my garage back in 1990.
I make a motion that we accept these new ordinances.
I'll say.
Okay. So we have to pass this on first reading. So this be the first
This
reading.
counts as first reading.
Yes, correct. Okay, that's by Beth and,
They got them all last month, so they should have.
okay. All right. Discussion?
In regards to the daycare, that's,
It's already out there.
I mean, basically, laid right up there for you in there of what it's gonna be.
Yeah, that's basically the state, copies the state regulations. I mean, we don't have any, but if somebody wants to set one up, we are covered.
All requirements of state Tennessee pertains to use and operation facilities shall be met.
Right, that's basically what it is.
This is,
This, got all of
It's
that.
clean, that's like the vehicle's talking, but it's kind of, it's better word this way.
Okay, discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Patrick Peebly?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Beth Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Dwayne Gibson?
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd Lawson?
Yes.
Mayor Stixberry?
Yes, motion carries. Number 6, council discussed delays and closings. I think, Beth, is one of your issues you have put on. Watch your mouth a little bit.
Yeah. The reason that I put this on here, and I think we really pretty much fixed it, or we're in the process of fixing it, was when we had the snow days that the courthouse closed, and we also closed the office, there was a question about the ladies in the library being paid. The ladies in the library, both are temporary part-time employees right now, due to the circumstance. We're in the process of changing that and hiring someone for the director position. So the question was brought to me, actually it wasn't brought to me, it was stated to me, that they wouldn't get paid because they're not full-time employees, and that they don't receive benefits. So my question was, I know they're not full-time employees and they don't get benefits, but closing City Hall would it mean closing the library? Or would it mean those ladies could come in and work if they wanted to, because we closed the office, not the library? They work different hours than the regular office does. Should they get paid because they're temporary part-time and the main office is closed? Or what? So that's my question to everybody. But then we've been working, who was that name who was working?
John Gross.
Yep, that guy. The other day, and we're trying to clean up our personnel policy. And in the personnel policy, it clearly states that part-time people does not get benefits. To me, I think benefits is like a paid vacation, a paid holiday and stuff like that. But if we've made the recommendation that the the city be closed when the courthouse is closed due to inclement weather, should they get paid or no?
Well, my feeling is, if it's deemed unsafe for some to come in, why should we require others to come in? That's not right.
And the day that we had this discussion and made it possible for the other two ladies in the office to not come in, we talked about it and we discussed, your police officer is still going to work because they still have to patrol our city. Your street department is still going to work and most likely work overtime those days. So technically, yes, they are getting paid for it. But if my thought is if two of them are gonna get paid for it, then all four of them's gonna get paid for it, or I don't think any of them should get it. Plain and simple. I know they're only part-time right now, and things are going to change soon, and I understand that. But is it fair that we tell those two part-time people that they can't work, but then not pay them? So it's a hard situation there. I feel they should get paid. That's just my personal opinion. But I don't know how to.
Now, let me say this. Because it's a weird situation, were Robin in that situation as the library director, would she get, that's what I need to know.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I needed to know.
And see, technically, when we hire a director, they're probably gonna get paid. But then their part-time person that's in there with them, that works probably every day, just not 8 hours a day, is not going to get paid. So, do it.
I think if you're looking at it from the library being closed and the police and the street department, you're looking at two different creatures. I mean, that,
Right.
you can't even compare that. I technically, I think if you're closed, you should operate shadow the county again. You know, those people were paid, they're paid, and those guys that are out there having to work should be paid overtime.
And we are working on that with
And,
our new personnel policy with that guy.
And I think if you accept a job part-time, then you accept a job part-time. I think if you go into a job knowing that you're part-time and don't have benefits, that's what you've taken that job. If you don't get to work that day because of the weather or something, that's part of it.
Does the county employees get paid part-time? Because the school employees do get paid when it snows.
I don't.
You all don't close, so you don't have
We
meetings.
don't close, I can tell you that.
But county employees do though.
But that's something, like I said, we're only talking, yeah, we're only talking, you know, we're only talking two people, and we're only talking like 1 day or 2 days, and we've had to deal with it. I made a decision on my own. I said, pay them, and we'll deal with it later.
Right.
But like I said, that was the situation we're in, at nobody's, it just, cards were dealt with our former director's health and issues.
Right.
That's just the cards that were dealt, and like I said,
And plus, we're revising it.
right, we're working on it now. Like I said, go ahead and pay them, so we paid them, so I'll take the hit if anybody had any problem with that. But I said, we only had like 1 day,
Right.
and we are working to solve that with John Grubb, redoing the, I think I met with y'all, a couple hours the other morning, and then you got the rest of them just stayed, I think, till like 4 o'clock, going through some policies and stuff, and revising, going to do some revising some things. So that's all gonna be cleaned up. This is just a one-time
But
issue.
it's not in that, it wasn't in that policy either. I mean, that's gonna be something we're gonna have to
We're gonna
work
have to.
into that.
Right, we can.
But it was questioned by several people, that got to me that, about it. So that's why I said, well, we're just gonna put it on the agenda and discuss it between everybody, and that way it's, it's out there, and we either make a decision with it or not on the days, because, I mean, I don't know, I feel they should be paid, but I don't know, do you have an input on this?
No, whatever y'all decide, you need to somebody needs to make a motion on the one that has been paid, so they'll match the audit.
Okay.
Does MTS have a particular policy on this? Or?
I can ask.
Well,
Now, John
that's who was
said-
here.
Yeah,
Okay, that's who was here.
That's who
And
was
he
here.
said, did he not say, pay him,
Pay him.
is what John said.
Yes. If-
So MTS said they.
That's what we were talking about the other day. And we, like I said, when we're working on this policy, but he also said that like the guys that work in the street department, that not only should they be paid for the hours that they are technically here scraping the roads, but they should get paid time and a half, right? For hours, you know, other than what they're here for, like if they work over and, you know, and stuff like that. I mean,
They are.
not
They are paid overtime if they're here past.
But say like if they get called out in the middle of the night or something like that, and they still haven't reached their 40 hours, am I saying that right? That they'll get paid like a call-out pay.
A call out.
And so we don't do that now here at all.
No, that's something we need to,
Whether
add.
it's 2 hours
Or
or
4,
5.
yeah, that's something.
That's
we
why
need
I
to add.
said there's several things on there we discussed, but we also discussed this that day too. Because, I mean, yes, we are a small town and, you know, people want to discuss everything, you know, talk about it and what's fair and what's not fair. So I'm just trying to make it fair for everybody that is part of this little op, which it only entails 4 people, you know, if there's inclement weather, because everybody else is still going to have to do their shift, the police department, the streets department, you know.
Who are the 4 people besides the 2 part-time ones?
Teresa and
Just-
Laura.
Just 2.
And then
She
the
said 4 total.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Teresa, Laura, and then the 2 part-time.
Because, the full-time people are covered.
Right.
Correct.
Mhm.
So there's really just 2 people then.
Right, it's just the 2 part-time, yes. Like I said,
So
I told
far
them,
you've raised the part-time people if they're gonna be paid during inclement weather, and you've raised the call-out
That's gonna be,
outside of their regular shift,
And one of
if they
those-
haven't reached the 40 hours.
right, that's something we'll have to discuss.
And one of those part-time people's about, you know, one of those positions that's currently part-time due to circumstance will be full-time when we get to the point of the end game of number 8 on the agenda of hiring a library director. Because you said if this were Robin, it wouldn't be an issue.
Right.
well, she would've got paid, but then the other part-time.
Right, so we're really down to 1 though, that we have
Right, like I
to.
said, we can
So,
deal with that when we meet with John again. John's gonna bring back a lot of our policies and stuff that MTS went through and found some issues we need to fix.
So do we need to make a motion on the pay that already happened for the
Yes,
budget?
I'm ratifying the pay that occurred.
I'll make the motion to ratify the pay that occurred.
I'll second it.
Call the roll.
Yeah, call roll please.
Mr. Patrick Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Beth Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Dwayne Gibson?
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd Lawson? Mayor Stixberry?
Yes, motion carries.
Before we move on back to the original topic of it, currently we have policy in place which addresses what this issue is. Correct?
No, that's the policy we're revising.
No.
Right.
Currently, what we're seeing with part-time, they
Oh, I-
don't get paid according to the
That's
policy
the
in
correct.
place.
Yeah.
Right.
That's-
So
The policy
that's
in
accurate.
place is accurate. We just need to amend the policy to cover
Right,
part-time.
right.
that's what we're working on in the
It's not that
amended
we don't
policy.
have a plan in place. The plan in place right now is,
We got,
please read me a book, but we don't pay you.
Right.
we've got a plan in place, but we're in the process of revising that plan with impasse. Just so happen that's, yes ma'am.
Is that okay? As a part-time employee, I did know when I took the job that we did not receive benefits, and that's perfectly fine. One question that I had when the snow day happened, and the question about whether or not we got raised was brought up, is when we did look through the policy, it does state that part-time people do not receive benefits, and that includes vacation time, sick time, so on and so forth. But in the inclement weather part, it only states that employees are, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but employees are expected to be at work, and if not, it comes out of their vacation time, but it doesn't say anything about the city closing for any reason. So if it closes for inclement weather or for a water main burst or anything like that. But the one reason why I actually personally asked Teresa about the policy, because a comment was made to sound as if we would get paid for like 1 hour that the courthouse had opened late, but not the rest of the time. And I personally did not want our pay being interpreted by somebody if it wasn't in the policy. So just to let you all know that as part-timers, we really didn't care whether we got paid for that, but we didn't want that to be up to interpretation by someone who may or may not be authorized to have that interpretation. Does that make sense? So I actually did, personally, I was one of the people that brought that question to Teresa because I didn't know if, I basically came to her and said, this is what I'm reading, do you know the answer to this? Because I just don't want our pay being interpreted rather than just it being in the manual and saying, we get paid, we don't get paid for this certain situation. Does that make sense? So I just wanted you all to know that we're not hurt whether we get paid for that or not.
Okay, anyway, we're gonna take care of it.
But we appreciate you all talking about it.
We're gonna take care of it. Thank you. Amongst other,
Yeah.
I said, when MTS here, speaking of MTS, they were here, I said, all day, basically. And they found nothing really glaring, just a lot of stuff needs to be cleaned up. And some of the things we had, the rules have changed, and we didn't know the rules had changed. And this updates, our policy's so many years old, and it needs to be cleaned up.
We didn't have nothing in there on the weather, part-time people did, we.
No, like I said, that's something that's, that's going to be addressed in this, when John comes back with all the markups.
But there wasn't nothing in there for part-time people at that time.
No, it wasn't, not that time. So it's just something that, stuff pops up and we're going to work through it, like we always do. All right, number 7, council discuss apply for FEMA grant. Mr. Smith, is that you or Chief Hatmaker? Hello?
We just need the approval to apply for a FEMA grant,
For equipment?
extrication equipment, new air packs.
Okay. And it's what?
5%.
95.5?
Yeah.
Still 95.5? It's almost free money.
Can't beat that.
Can't beat that.
No.
Do I hear a motion we apply for a FEMA grant from the fire department for extrication equipment and air packs?
Motion to accept, to apply for the FEMA grant.
I'll say
Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Patrick Finley.
yes.
Mr. Eric Jones.
Yes.
Mr. Eric Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Beth Lawson.
Yes.
Mr. Dwayne Gibson.
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd Lawson.
Yes.
Mayor Stixberry.
Yes. Motion carried. Hey, you can apply. Okay. Okay, number 8, council discuss hiring of a library director. Ms. Beth?
All right, as you all know, Robin has retired, and, we never did
No.
Okay. So in your packets, there is a, yeah, job description. Sorry. And we got to check in to see if we had to, put out, do a search for a library director, or if we could hire within, promote somebody or something like that. And if I'm not mistaken, we do not have to.
We can promote within.
We can promote within if somebody is interested. So it just so happens that somebody here, Roche, is interested in the position. And so with that being said, I think that we should look to hire Roche as the director without doing applications.
Yep, just quick point, because Logan is not interested.
Correct.
Logan is not.
Because of, yeah.
Correct.
So, I mean, we could go through the process and everything, but I don't know how familiar you all are with Roche or Logan in the library. But when Logan first started, she was basically thrown in by herself. We've kind of done that to several people around here. But, and then a couple months later, she asked if we could hire somebody to help her because she was there by herself. And that's where Rashay come in. Now, both of them are doing an excellent job under the circumstances. There is a lot that they need to learn. There is so much that they know that is unreal. I don't know how they know what they do know in there, not having any direction. But they've been, you know, they go to the meetings, they call and ask questions, they use Robin as a reference, you know, and all this stuff. So if we do not have to advertise for a director, it's my recommendation that we hire Rashay as the new director.
Can't you just promote her?
That's what we're gonna do, just promote.
And I'll add to that, I've been to almost all the programs they've done, and they're excellent. And, you know, I read just about everything electronically these days, so I don't use the library like I used to. But I know how hard it is to run that library. I've helped Robin out in the past. And if y'all can run it that smoothly, having just been thrown in, it's impressive. Because like I said, I've been there.
And we're at a point right now, I think, and Rashay, you can say, you know, if you'd like to, they cannot move forward on anything with the library until we name a new director. And, I mean, they're doing what needs to be done.
But can't do anything further than what needs to be done.
Right.
I've got one more question while I'm talking. If we hire Rashay, what does that put Logan as at this point? Would she be leaving with us? Would she be staying with us part-time? Would we be looking for another part-timer?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, no, go ahead.
I've spoken to Logan. She has expressed interest in staying with us. Am I correct, Shay? Staying with us until baby's here, and then after that, as needed. Is that, or she's really not made her mind up yet for sure?
Yeah, right now she's thinking she wants to stay on part-time. You know, her mind could change. She may decide to stay home with the baby. She may want to come back and, you know, work as many hours as we let her. So it's just kind of, as of right now, since this is her first child, she doesn't know what it's going to be like. Her desires is to at least come back full-time. Or not full-time, part-time.
Okay. All right. So, I think we have a motion to promote. Did you make that motion?
I did.
think. Patrick, did you second that?
I said,
Okay. We need to go ahead in that same motion and determine an hourly rate as you, I think, has everybody got that? For places our size, it's on here for population that's around our size. I think, I'm just gonna throw this out and see what y'all think. I think a starting rate of $12.50 to start, and that's gonna be with full benefits. Because that gets us in line with other towns our size, what they are average rate.
I know that that needs to be important, because I know how much money we get from the state on that.
Right.
So, that
And
makes
we do
sense.
not have to have somebody, I mean, that has a degree in, like a librarian degree or anything
No.
like that. There is certificates or something that you can obtain, right?
There's a certificate.
Certificate that they can get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you do have a degree
Yes,
in.
bachelor's in child development.
Okay. Which that would be kind of like, that should go right along with the library.
I also have a professional teaching license. It's just not a degree, but it is,
Okay.
like, I could teach in schools.
Okay, that's good. All right, we have a motion on the floor, and a second is at $12.50, is that agreeable to everyone? Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Patrick Beaver,
Yes.
Mr. Eric Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Eric Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Beth Lawson.
Yes.
Mr. Dwayne Gibson,
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd Lawson.
Yes.
Mayor Stixberry.
Yes. Welcome His director.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank
when
you all very
Logan
much.
goes on maternity leave, are you going to have somebody hit you there at that point?
Yeah, we've actually already started a process. We contacted Randy Brown with the Campbell County Career Center, and there is it used to be a summer program, but now apparently it's all year long. But you can basically hire someone for up to 300 hours, and the county pays for it, and that employee would be on the county's workman comp in case anything happened on the job. And so I had already let Bobby know about it, and Randy Brown is going to be getting in touch with you all. And apparently there's a document to sign that's an agreement between the city and the county. But so we're looking at that because then it won't cost the city anything. And I actually did it when I was 16, but at the time it was like a summer program for teenagers, like 16 to 18. Now I believe it's 18 to 24, so college age students can do it, and we could have up to 2 people. So right now our hopes is to have somebody maybe between May and August, part-time, but then if something should happen in Logan's pregnancy and she has to leave even sooner, then that might be an option that we could look at if we could get 2 people. So that's kind of where we are right now with that.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, number 9, council discuss microphones in council room.
A person from the planning commission asked if we would ask for microphones in the council, they couldn't hear out there in the audience what we were talking about up here.
Anybody have any program I big mouth?
I know they're not talking about me.
I don't think they're worried about. All right, we'll let that one go in. Okay, council discussed bid hay cutting at industrial park. That's our yearly, that's our standard thing. We put it in the paper, don't we?
Yep.
All right, do I hear a motion that we put in the paper to bid out hay cutting in the industrial park?
Motion made. Second.
Discussion, call roll, please.
Mr. Patrick Phelan?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Beth Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Dwayne Gibson?
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd Lawson?
Yes.
Mayor Stixberry?
Yes, motion carries. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
Oh, no, it's just, it's great to be here. My name is Tammy Merritt, for those of you that might have forgotten me. I work for Congressman Fleshman's office, but Congressman sends you his greetings. He will be going back to D.C. tomorrow, and still got a lot of work to do on the budget. But if there's anything that our office can do to assist you with a federal agency, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm glad to help you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tammy.
All right, thank you, Tammy. Give the congressman our best.
Thank you.
All right, we will take a short recess and then we'll convene the beer board in about
Just a reminder.
10 minutes.
Number 7.
Oh, number 7 on the agenda, Tammy, the FEMA grant. Yeah, we might have Congressman Flashman.
Where our office can, one of the things that we do is write letters of support, Congressman does, if y'all would like that.
Yes, ma'am, we would.
Okay. The gentleman that was here, would he be the one that I see the fire chief?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, we can get him.
We can get Andy back.
We get him over here get him back over here in just a minute.
Well, I can
We'll
just
take
get
it-
his contact information, give him
Okay.
a call.
All right, we'll take a short recess and we'll reconvene in about 10 minutes.
You got about that long.
Just keep it.